Good morning, Feel Good Talk fam. Welcome to Time to Rise and Shine. My name is Kendra Moore, your life insurance agent. And on this, we talk about mindset, motivation, and money because you need all three if you are looking to be financially successful. So I started a couple of weeks ago doing a series based on this great book that I'm reading, which is Secrets. There you go. If you can see that, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, Mastering the Inner Game of Wealth by Harv Ecker. So this book has sold over 5 million copies. It's always referenced when you listen to people who are highly successful that they attribute this book to the way that their mindset shifted when it comes to building wealth, when it comes to their finances. So last week, or a couple of weeks ago, what I talked about was your income can grow only to the extent that you do, right? So this was talking about getting your mindset in terms of thinking about millions, not thousands, right? And talking about how, in order to make what you want to make, what you dream about making, then it really starts with you in terms of how you see yourself, right? And so what's the visions you're casting? What are the habits you have in place, etc.? Who are you around? Are you willing to get out of your comfort zone? So today, I'm going to talk about this wealth principle. If you want to change the fruits, you will first have to change the roots. If you want to change the visible, you will first have to change the invisible, right? So this is, some people say seeing is believing, right? Well, not always, right? Sometimes you need to believe before you see it. Otherwise, you're going to stay stuck. So if you're looking to grow your income, but your paycheck is only, what you are used to getting, well, if you can't see past you making more than what you're making today, then, you are going to block yourself from making more. So that's the seeing and believing. But I want to read this. I want to read a couple of things that I have underlined here that really stood out to me. So here, he talks about this. In my experience, what you cannot see in this world is far more powerful than anything you can see. You may or may not agree with this statement, but to the extent that you do not apply this principle in your life, you must be suffering. Why? Because you are going against the laws of nature, whereby what is under the ground creates what is above the ground. What is invisible creates what is visible. So what we're talking about here is think about a tree, right? So, we see trees all the time. In order for a tree to grow, it has its roots. We all know that. But the roots are underneath the ground. We can't see them. The roots have to be healthy. The roots have to really dig in deep into the dirt, the soil, the rocks, the sediment, all of that. The root has to be fed, right, in order for that tree to start growing. So what we are seeing is that visible manifestation of all the work that's going on underneath the ground that we cannot see. And so that's what he's talking about here, is that in order for us to bear fruit, we have to take care of our root. Now, our root meaning the things that other people can't see, the things that we're not yet manifesting, but we want to manifest. So he goes on to says, as humans, we are part of nature, not above it. Consequently, when we align with the laws of nature and work on our roots, our inner world, our life flows smoothly. When we don't, life gets rough. In every forest, on every farm, and every orchard on the earth, it's what's under the ground that creates what's above the ground. That's why placing your attention on the fruits that you have already grown is futile. You cannot change the fruits that are already hanging on the tree. You can, however, change tomorrow's fruit, But to do so, you will have to dig below the ground and strengthen the roots, right? So when we look at, what are the fruits that we are bearing out when it comes to our finances, right? Are we constantly in debt, right? Are we constantly living paycheck to paycheck? Those are that's really not about how much you make as much as it is the actions that you're taking. So what do I mean? So, for example, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, how can I say that's not about how much you make? It's more about the actions you're taking. Do you have a budget in place? Are you spending money where you shouldn't be spending? If the answer is no, can you take action to find additional income, which requires sacrifice, right? But, sacrificing your time, you may not be able to hang out with your friends, your family. You may have less time to do the things that you love, but now you're bringing in that extra income. So that way you can grow your pot, and then you're not living paycheck to paycheck, always trying to scramble to find something. Is it hard? Yes. Working two jobs is very difficult. But again, you are focused on the root, so that way you can bear better with the fruit. So your fruit situation is not going to change until you do. So that's what he talks about there. Let's see. What else? Money is a result. Wealth is a result. Health is all right, you guys. I don't know what happened. The computer just clicked off there for some crazy reason. So I'm just going to finish this up. If you're still with me, then good for you. But this talks about money as a result, wealth as a result, health as a result, illness as a result, your weight as a result. We live in a world of cause and effect. A lack of money is never, ever the problem. A lack of money is merely a symptom of what is going on underneath. It's the effect, but what is the root cause? It boils down to this. The only way to change your outer world is changing your inner world. So whether you are, wanting to be rich, good, positive, negative, like your outer world is really a reflection of what's going on with you. So I know that's a hard thing for a lot of people to accept, because I feel like in the society, we are kind of bred to blame other people, right? We're bred to really not take responsibility for our own situation. We're bred to always get like empathy from other people because that makes us feel good. That kind of absolves us of our own responsibility. But in reality, we are responsible for the fruits that we're bearing out. And the only way to change the fruit is you have to do that inner work to change the root. Okay. And then the last thing I will say here is here, the definition of affirmation. Okay. So here he talks about one of the ways to start changing our root is to make declaration statements. Declaration statements and affirmation statements are different. We hear social media talk a lot about affirmation statements. Here's the difference. The definition of an affirmation is a positive statement asserting that a goal you wish to achieve is already happening. The definition of a declaration is to state an official intention to undertake a course of action or adopt a particular status. So in other words, an affirmation is kind of like something that's more positive, etc. It's not really action oriented. You want to make action oriented statements. So for example, my inner world creates my outer world, right? So meaning that you have to focus on your inner world in order to change the outer world, right? An affirmation would be something like, my outer world is working with me today. That's like a positive thing, which is fine. It makes you feel good. However, you need to actually start declaring if you want positive change in your life, if you want positive change in your finances, start doing declaration statements about the actions that you are willing to take in order to get yourself out of whatever situation. Whether that action is being more careful about how you're spending your money, whether the action is finding ways to make more money, whether the action is reading more books about money, so that way you can start training your brain and learning from, successful people on what it is that they did to generate wealth. So again, I'm going to wrap it up here. But again, this wealth principle, if you want to change the fruits, you will have to change the roots. If you want to change the visible, you must first change the invisible. So starting with yourself, look inner, be honest with yourself. What are the things that you have to start changing in order to get the fruits that you really want? So I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. I do apologize for that glitch in the video. I don't know what happened there, but it's all good. We made it through. Happy Friday, and I will see you guys next week. Take care.